Hey there, and welcome to the Total Potential Podcast. Cole and Jake here today with a friend and colleague and an all-around just like remarkable human, Luke Tan. He's all the way over in Singapore, but is a man of the world. He's married to a Canadian, has lived in Australia, like such an interesting background. Luke, thanks so much for being here with us this morning.
Pleasure,
Although for
pleasure.
you,
I
it's
never,
night.
yeah, it is night. It's 8 p.m. my time, so I'm excited about this conversation. And yeah, man of the world, that's the first I've heard of that. Yeah, it's true. I never thought of it that way. I live in Singapore, married a Canadian, and lived in Australia, and maybe Canada or maybe Cyprus at some day. We're even thinking about Cyprus. So man of the world, global
Wow.
citizen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. That's awesome. So, Luke, before we dive, I mean, you do incredible work in the health and wellness space, like really remarkable. I can't wait to talk about it. But before we get into that, like, how did you ever come into this space? Was that always an interest of yours? Like, how did you end up in this health, wellness, lifestyle work?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think I guess I have to go back to, my childhood. I've always been, to a certain degree, into training and fitness because my dad was working out in his home gym. So that was kind of a little bit of a spark into the fitness side of things. But in terms of the personal coaching and personal development space, it's really started, I would say, around 2009, 2010, because 2008 was, I would say, around that period was the lowest point of my life. 2008 global financial crisis hit and I lost my job. And around that time, I was just in a pretty bad relationship and wasn't myself, was not anything like the person that I am today. And around that time, I was suffering from mild depression. And at around 2010, I would say, I in a psychosis, I tried to a certain degree, take my own life. And fortunately, I lived to tell the tale. And then subsequently, a little bit later, I got in trouble with the law. I won't really say why, but I spent one night in a cell. So that was number two pivotal moment. And then number three was finally, I all this while I was sweeping stuff under the carpet. And what I was trying to sweep away was this relationship that was long expired, and that was the splinter. And finally, this person, my ex, to a certain degree, found out that I was cheating on her. And when the doors literally closed on me because all my friends I disappointed and disrespected and breached the trust of all my friends and my ex, and the doors closed. And that was the lowest of the low. So literally, we talk about the hero's journey. I went all the way down into the pit. And that was the pit. It was a dark night. It was raining, funnily enough. And when the doors closed, I went to my ex's house. My friends, close friends, were just like, "What are you doing here? Get out. She doesn't want to see you." So I remember that very night when I went back home, uh, I was tossing and turning because guilt, shame, as we know, with power versus force, shame and guilt is, I can't remember the author's name. Is it David
David
Hawkins?
Hawkins, yeah.
Yeah, shame and guilt is the lowest emotion, and I was at shame, guilt, disgust.
Hmm.
So yeah, I went back home and I tried to sleep. I was tossing and turning, couldn't really sleep, and finally fell asleep. And the next morning, I woke up. I literally jolted awake because I had a dream. The dream was me biting my teeth and my teeth were shattering. It was so vivid. It was like shards of glass that were cutting my gums and I could taste the blood. And I woke up, was like, whoa, what was that about? So I went immediately to the computer and just to see what that was all about because it's just so vivid. I've never had a dream this vivid in my life. So I found, and what I researched was that dream signified change, a new beginning. And I found that moment, wow, that was absolutely profound. So that very morning, I was based in Melbourne, Australia. I went to the heart of the city, Burke Street Mall, sat on a park bench and made a decision to turn my life around. That very morning, it was a crisp, clear morning, contrast from the night before. I made the decision to turn my life around. And around that same time, I was starting my journey as a personal trainer. And we talk about we might talk about crucibles. I committed to my first crucible because I was filled with so much guilt and shame, and I just had to just put my blinkers on and just focus on something. And then around that time, I was mentored by my coach. He's a strength and conditioning coach. And he said, "Why don't you compete in your first bodybuilding competition?" I was just like, "Are you kidding me? All right, let's do it." So I competed in my first bodybuilding competition, trained for it. I came second runner up, and then I won best poser. That was,
got the
a
moves,
title
Luke.
that yeah, I know. I got the moves. I got to share the video one day with you guys. So, and then that really sparked my whole journey into fitness. And then one crucible after another. I met around the same time I met my wife. Turned vegan overnight after watching a documentary on animal cruelty. And it's like, I do not want to contribute to this industry anymore. Turned vegan and decided I wanted to kind of show that I could stand on the stage again as a plant-based kind of bodybuilder, and I did. So I placed and competed in Austin, Texas, competed as a CrossFit athlete. And then, as I was in the CrossFit space, I was just thinking, how do these guys push so hard? When you look at the CrossFit athletes, they're like a different level of mental game beasts. So that's how I, in a way, discovered Unbeatable Mind and Mark Divine. And then and as we now know, Unbeatable Mind is more than just mental toughness. It's integrated living, it's awareness, it's engaging the witness, 5 plateaus. So all that stuff. And that's really, in a nutshell, how I came to be. And for me, it was always just pushing myself, and then just seeing how I can maximize my impact. And I mean, right now, this is the 5th year running. I'm a co-host of the Plant Fit Summit. And, we've reached out to more, probably 70, 80, 90,000 people, particularly in the US, with this plant-based health and wellness message. Because for me, I was beginning my journey as an entrepreneur as well. It's like, how can I maximize this message? So from vegan athlete, plant-based athlete, to entrepreneur, to co-host, to Unbeatable Mind. So I just think about how much I've done, wow, okay, I did. There are times when I feel really down, as we are entrepreneurs, it's like, it's never enough. You keep focusing on the ahead, but you forget at least for me, I forget, I was in depression. I almost lost my life. So
yeah, how much was behind you?
How much has been behind, because quest for growth. So I guess that's how I came to be, to where I am, and also chatting with you guys right now, and being on the same boat crew as you, Cole, sharing polos.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has been has been an incredible journey, and still continuing.
I'm so interested to know what's going through Jake's head right now, because I feel like there's a few things that you just shared, Luke, that really resonate, not only from Jake's experience, but also the experience of a lot of men that he knows. So I'm just gonna let him roll.
Yeah, Luke, I was what's so crazy about that is while you're talking, I'm literally playing out the last 5 or 6 years in my head, right? Very similar story to you. And having that kind of rock bottom, and then having that epiphany of I have to do something here, So the question I was going to ask you is, while you were in kind of, before you had that dream and up to all that stuff going on, was the physical fitness, were you still active in that, or was that not part of your life previous to that kind of rock bottom moment?
It was working out versus training. That's very different. When you're training for a specific goal, training to get stronger, but working out is just, I need to do chest and back one day. So I was into fitness, but really, when I opened my pantry drawer, I was in the corporate industry. I had a cup of soup, I had cigarettes and a energy drink for breakfast. So yeah, I was working out, but I was also having cigarettes and energy drink for breakfast.
Yeah, because I just loved what you said about the kind of taking that one thing that you knew you could have control over, right? That was the tool that I used too. Is the only thing I knew, right? I was I know I can work out. I can make the decision every day to go to the CrossFit 100%. Gym and work out, 100%. Right? So just curious if starting with the physical, did you kind of then have that all these other things started flowing in, man, my emotions 100%. Are off, and the mental and all this, but that foundation of that physical, or that building that struggle into your life, and then all this other stuff can, really kind of open up. So Really
Definitely.
cool, man.
Such
Really
such a
cool.
great point as well, you know, like, and I'm glad you shared that as well, because I mean the physical, if we look at, you know, if we look at the chakra system, we look at unbeatable mind, the five mountain, the physical is the basis, the base, your strength to a certain degree. And I think it, especially when you're going to CrossFit, as you just shared, Jake, that builds a certain level of grit, you've built a certain level of commitment, a drive and discipline. And I think that is, you know, skills that translate to all other aspects of your life. So I think that's why, you know, I love things like 20XL and all these different crucibles, and even signing up for your first, you know, fun run or first half marathon or first 10K, that drives and channels that focus into something extremely tangible, because like mindset and emotions are a little bit hard to grasp and a little bit hard to kind of define, but physicals, either you do it or you don't.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
Point.
And Luke, I'm so interested to know, having gone from an energy drink and cigarettes, like what were some of the changes you started noticing, like mentally, physically, in all realms as you switched to a vegan, plant-based lifestyle?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it was inflammation. Joint inflammation went away. Energy spiked. Literally, like I literally turned vegan overnight. Like I went bodybuilder mindset. Like, okay, yesterday I had a kilo of meat. Today I'm gonna have a kilo of tofu. That makes sense. That's what it is, you know. A kilo. But of course, I was pretty gassy and bloated. So fortunately, my wife loved me, you know, and accepted me for who I was. So
yeah.
But yeah, my energy spiked because I was you know, on this kind of low carb, and I was quite heavy. So what I found was joint issues went away, my inflammation went away, I became pretty lean, and my energy, my skin cleared as well, digestion cleared up. And I think I just, you know, my body was just detoxing. And you know, when you're consuming a kilo of meat a day, it's not the best quality meat. You know, you're not eating grass-fed game. I tried at one point, but I was eating like really bad, and a lot of it. So I think that was really bad quality stuff, and I was consuming a lot of supplements. So I think really body composition changes and recovery, energy, skin. I had chronic asthma that improved significantly as well. So short of miraculous, you know, I don't know what else to say about what this lifestyle has done for me. It literally turned my life around. Yeah,
That's remarkable. I'm so inspired by, and I'd love to know, because now you have two young daughters, like what is, extrapolate a little bit, what does that plant-based lifestyle look like for the family?
Yeah, great question. So I think we've got a 4-year-old and 7-month-old. Of course, a 7-month-old is open bar all day long. so that's one. But our little 4-year-old was, you know, 100% plant-based since inception. So you know, we've, you know, to a certain degree, I've taught her, you know, read storybooks. And you know, we're not at home, we're plant-based. We're, you know, she knows that she's vegan, and but at school where we're okay with, we just tell the school because they have a vegetarian menu. So she has a little bit of eggs and dairy, and I don't want her to be left out. Like if there's birthday cake, and you know, say, oh, she can't have that because she's vegan. So she's now come to her own realizations that yeah, at school I can have to a certain degree, but I don't want meat because she says the animals are her friends. So the other day that we walked past, you know, every time we walk past like roasted chickens and roasted duck, she's like, oh, you poor duck, you poor chicken, you're my friend, I'm so sorry. So she's got the innocence in her. So I think she's kind of making that, and she's to a certain degree proud. And for us as parents, you know, we do what we can, we share why we're doing so, and she's receptive. But when the time comes where she wants to make her own decision, that's her choice. I'm not going to enforce what our beliefs on her. And I think when she's old enough, she'll make her own decision. At least for us, we do the best that we can and provide the best environment for her to thrive. And you know, and she has been extremely healthy, full of energy. So yeah, all in all, that's how we approach it. And we don't chase purity, I would say. And we're not, you know, with her, we're not so regimented with things. And I think she appreciates that in her own little way.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool though with something like that, because you know, like anything else, the conditioning that happens over your life, right? Like that's just normal for her, right? Of
That's a
this
normal.
clean lifestyle. So, opposed to probably how all of us had to do it. It's like when you're an adult, now you have to like rewire your mind, right? Like,
Unlearn,
McDonald's
detox.
isn't
Yeah,
good for you. Oh no, this is a tough moment. So
100%. Exactly,
I
exactly. I've
love that,
been.
like building discipline in the kids, that then that's their normal.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
And the
Yeah.
approach that like your beliefs don't have to be her beliefs. I think for a lot of parents, that's a really challenging thing to admit
Mm,
that like
mm,
what I
mm,
believe doesn't have to be what my kids
mm-hmm,
take into the world. So
mm-hmm,
I think that's so cool that for something that's clearly very important to you, you already have like
mm-hmm.
this open approach to what might be possible down the road.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think, and the quote that I always come back to is Joe Bailey's "Live like the man you want your son to be, and live like the man you want your daughter to bring home." To a certain degree, I may have just butchered that quote, but it's that. But you
In
know
the
what I
realm,
mean.
yes.
Yeah.
In the realm, in the realm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that I subscribe to. So at least I hope that by giving her that free will, I want to protect her, but at the same time allow her to shine. I think
Mm.
it's sometimes I hope that my baggage, we inherit some of the baggage of our parents, and I hope my baggage is a little bit less, is lighter than what I've experienced myself. So it was, so I guess I think we all do our best, and I hope that
Yes.
I'm not enforcing and jamming it down the throat, because I wouldn't want my parents to do that to me as well as I was growing up. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, Luke, we have to talk because you have this
sure.
amazing system, this grit system that I have to know, number one, about every aspect of because it is so
Mm-hmm.
remarkable. And
Mm-hmm.
number two is just a really cool offering and way to like jump into some of this work. So grit
Mm.
itself is an acronym. Tell us a little bit about like how you break this system down.
Sure thing, sure thing. And yeah, I mean, firstly, I mean, grit is always something that I never had, for one.
Hmm.
Before I became the person that I am today, I was the fat kid. I was the kid in the corner that got poked and prodded, the weak kid. So I was just flaky. I could never commit. So I think to a certain degree, proud of what I've achieved so far in the past few years. So I think grit is something that is true to me. And the acronym, it starts with green. G is green. So green fuel to optimize performance and health. And because I advocate that lifestyle and have been on this lifestyle for the past decade or so, for performance, for recovery, for longevity, for sustainability, because I came into this lifestyle mainly from the sustainable, ethical standpoint. And then resistance is resistance training, just building your body through functional movements, like as it's, whether it's seal fit WODs. I do a lot of animal-based workouts, so minimal equipment. And then also resistance is mental strength, developing mental fortitude, whether it's the unbeatable mind approach, whether it's just suck it up and just do the work. Um, just don't talk, just show up. And the second one, rather the third letter is I, which is integration, which is what you and I know, or Jake as well, integrated habits and rituals, because our habits and rituals dictate our success or lack thereof. So integration of habits, daily habits, whether it's your morning rituals, how what kind of work day you have, how you segment your day, and also just mind, body, spirit, because I think we're all whole beings. We're not our mind, we're not our body, we're not our emotions, we're not our spirit. We're all of that rolled into one, and we're part of the universe, and the universe exists within us. So integration with the earth, with spirituality, whatever modality you subscribe to. And then finally, transformation, which is T, because I don't look at transformation. That's why I don't really like 30-day fat loss programs, because you're taking an outside in approach. It's like, okay, you need diet and exercise, but you're not changing the values and the beliefs of someone, and the emotions, and to a certain degree, some people may have trauma, some people may have belief patterns that don't serve them. So working from the inside out approach, and I look at it at transformation in in an energetic sense and a cellular sense, because like a plant-based diet really feeds your cells. It feeds your cells, and it helps you thrive at a cellular, at least from my point of view. Of course, nutrition, there's many perspectives based on my experience. So from a cellular and then an energetic level, and I look at energies, of course, mind, body, spirit, but also the masculine and feminine energies, finding the balance between the two. So the feminine is like intuition, being nurturing, being creative, collaborating, caring, receptive, being grateful. And then a masculine energy, which is just being confident, focused, driven, clear, assertive, just getting stuff done. So somewhere in between, there is a balanced and integrated whole, female and male. And I believe that when we're balanced and we're whole, we'll see a different world. We won't see this polarity that exists today. We won't see, judgment. So that's how I look at grit. It's a 4-step process.
I'm excited that this podcast is brought to you by mkforhealth.com. Have you been looking for a powerful antioxidant to help support your immune health? Hello, of course we have. Look no further. mkforhealth.com offers an amazing product called Nutrimetrics OPC3. This product is an isotonic-capable food supplement chock full of powerhouse antioxidants. Ingredients like citrus extract bioflavonoids, bilberry, grapeseed, red wine, and pine bark extracts, all incredible antioxidants. Then you have the OPCs. The oligomeric proanthocyanidins are bioflavonoids found in fruits, vegetables, and certain tree barks that have exceptional benefit to the human body. Studies have shown that these OPCs are up to 20 times more powerful than vitamin C and 50 times more powerful than vitamin E in neutralizing free radicals. Hello, sign me up for that. Nutrimetrics OPC3 also contains the only isotonic form of pycnogenol in the world. Number 1, remember, isotonic, readily absorbed. Number 2, pycnogenol, my new favorite word, is a natural plant extract from the bark of a French maritime pine tree, and it is the most clinically researched and potent bioflavonoid found. If you're ready to support your immune health and modulate inflammation in your system, all with incredible powerhouse antioxidants, natural extracts, and ingredients, this is your product. Go to www.mkforhealth.com to purchase your Nutrimetrics OPC3 today. That's www.mk4health.com.
Okay. I love how you mentioned earlier too, Red, like with that system of the green and then the resistance, right? It's like those are two things that are like super tangible. Like we can change our diet, we can change the way that we work out, right? It's
100%.
And then I'm curious with, just with some of that personal struggle that you went through and then how you, totally made this transformation in your own life. Can you look back now, and then also when you're working people through this system, can you help people appreciate, that even that struggle, right, did have a purpose, and it's not something that I just know in my own life, and then with other people that I work with, it's really hard for people to move on from the attachment to like the old self, instead of that appreciation of look at how far you've come. So I'm just curious with yourself, and as you work people through your program, once you have that transformation happening or being where you are in your life and looking back at, man, where I've come from is just incredible. I'm just curious with how you use that as a positive instead of like this negative attachment to the old self.
Yeah, I guess depending on where you are, for me, I guess I look at it all starts with a decision. All first starts with awareness of what the issue is. What, a lot of times we sweep it under the carpet. I mean, the first step to change is awareness. So being aware of what the issue is, and not, I speak from my example, at least I was aware of the issue, but I kept sweeping it under the carpet. But I think it really changed when the decision was made. But unfortunately, in my instance, the decision was made for me by life, to a certain degree. But I think for anyone out there, it's just, realize what if there, at the end of the day, if there is always one thing that you're not addressing, and if you're not addressing this one thing, call it stress, call it trauma, call it whatever, bad relationships after bad relationship. It keeps repeating. There is this pattern, but it's always one thing that has not been addressed. And being open to it, whether it's journaling, talking to someone that you care about, and sharing it with someone, because sometimes when you internalize it, and that's what depression is, you just internalize and you live in this cocoon, in this bubble, and trying to protect yourself. But really, the more you send it out to the world, the less power and less hold it has over you. So at least sharing it with someone, and then make a decision. And for someone that, like I did a post a while back, and I wrote in the post, remind yourself of what you've been able to overcome, and use that as your source of strength, resolve, and courage to take on what you're going through today. Because a lot of times we forget, and we have daily stresses. There's COVID, there's lockdowns, and we start stressing. But the darker your past, the more strength and resolve you've built. Sometimes we forget that it's just a matter of just going back to that time, and just saying, if I could do that, if I could overcome that, I can do anything. So I think using the past is a strength, but beyond that, as I shared, awareness of what the issue is, making a decision, and as we, in Be The Wine, it's making micro goals, taking micro steps forward, because sometimes we think of this change as this monumental task and this huge mountain we have to climb. Sometimes it's just like getting out, just going out for a walk and clearing your mind, rather than being stuck on the couch, flipping through channels, going through bags of Cheetos, or drowning yourself in beer. Just get the hell out of the house. That could be just a micro goal more often.
Yeah. I love how you're highlighting, Luke, like any one belief, any one pattern can be flipped with a decision. Like that's a really powerful way to use language around it. It's a really powerful mindset shift, because I think for a lot of us, it feels like the belief is true because life is proving it to us over and over again, right? But it's super empowering to switch that mindset to actually, I get to make one decision and this whole thing could be different. Yeah, that's 100%. Incredible.
100%. Yeah, it's all about decision, and it's at the end of the day, it's it's either you choose to continue being the way that you are, or you choose the other way, because literally your life can change in a split second just by making a decision to do so. And as Anthony Robbins always said, it always starts with a decision. A decision is a line in the sand drawn saying, no, I'm going to move forward. It hurts when you sit on a fence because the fence is going up your bum. So quite physically, it does actually hurt, because it's just like, all right, just jump over the fence because the fence is going right up there.
Yeah.
So being on a fence is not comfortable at all. So you just need to draw a line in the sand sometimes.
Yeah. Luke, you also mentioned like thinking through this grit system as like a real life approach, right? Because we are moms and dads and we have careers and we, something we hear the most, like by far in our community, is the challenge of balancing like what you want to do with the time that you actually have. So give us a little glimpse into how, something like your Kickstarter program, for instance, can kind of address that point of like time and the balance that we have in just real life.
Yeah, in real life, I guess, at least for the Kickstarter program, one of the days is just make, for example, we look at the nutritional switch, just make healthy swaps, swap your dairy milk out and just have almond milk. Right now it's just like there's one dairy milk, but there's like 12, 13 different alternatives. So it's literally like, what are you losing out, man? There's tons out there, especially in the US. So making that swap. But one of the days is a couple of the tasks, at least one task that I have is decluttering, and decluttering and, having a tech-free day, because sometimes we're so engrossed with our phones. And, as we know, the phone can be a great source of distraction and a lack of productivity, because, your mind is pulled in a different direction. So that's number 2. And number 3 is I integrate box breathing as well, because box breathing will help, especially for us parents, with frazzled, with, bringing the kids to gymnastics and then coming back home, cooking dinner, and then making sure, cleaning up after dinner, which I did just before this podcast. and it's about finding that time and space to just decompress. And I think box breathing is such a great tool, and I integrate that into one of the days. But also, like, to start things off, like the very first day is to define your why, rather than having a like weight loss goal, but why is this important to you? Because the why drives everything. So when you have that why and you have a visualization, a vision of who you want to be, and be pulled by it, decision to change it's a lot easier versus, I just need to, drop a few kilos, because that's very kind of superficial to a certain degree, but you're pulled towards a future version of yourself where you're bouncing, you're running, with your kids, lifting them up in the air, you're free from pain, maybe a granddad, it's an emotional kind of goal versus a kind of a mental goal, I would say. So kind of rolling that all into one, but also thinking of the 6 pillars. In Unbeatable Mind, we talk about how you sleep, your stress levels, how you feel, your movement. So all of these different concepts integrated to a certain degree to this 8-day challenge, and hope that after this 8 days, if you commit to it, you'll be able to feel and experience some changes in your life. So yeah.
I love like the kind of like step-by-step approach too. Like it doesn't feel so overwhelming, or like I have to do everything if I just have one task. Like today, I'm going to do one thing. I think that really helps balance that time pull that, we all have when you're raising families and working and just living life the way that we are. I love that.
Correct.
The swap thing too. I think that's awesome, right? Because you're already doing the habit. You're already doing the habits, right? I'm drinking milk or I'm drinking almond milk. It's still the same task. You're just switching something out, right? I'm either smoking cigarettes or I'm working out, or whatever.
Exactly.
There's so many things that you can look at. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about swapping cigarettes for working out. That's fine. Just do that.
But you know what I mean? It's such a great way
100%.
to look at it. Like, you're already doing these things. Just
100%.
swap them out for something healthy. Very 100%.
Simple. And one of the tasks I have for one day is just to drink water.
Yeah.
Drink water, because I think many times, me included, back in the day, we drink insufficiently. So being able to commit to at least 2.5 liters, 3 liters, 4 liters a day, and treat it as a milestone. So I think when you hydrate, sorry if you can hear my kids. Yeah, there's a bit of a party going downstairs.
It's all good.
I just got done doing a week-long water cleanse, Luke.
Oh wow, amazing! How was that?
It was amazing. But to your point, it's crazy how even without food, how water can replenish you enough to
my goodness,
to live. Like, I think it was a cool thing. But yeah, you can do a lot of good stuff with water.
Indeed, and your taste, no doubt, after the cleanse, your taste buds were just extremely more no doubt more sensitive to salt, oil, and sugar, and all this stuff. And I think it's such a great. And so, how long was your cleanse? One whole week?
7 days. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
just all water only.
Yeah, so a lot of spiritual moments, a lot of things bubbled up. It was cool, really cool.
Respect. Yeah. That's something that I haven't yet done, and I want to be able. Well, not one. I will change my words. I will too.
Yeah. Well, and
it's more gritty than I am.
For me, Luke, it was kind of like what you were saying, right? As I was having some lack of discipline with my diet, so sometimes, just the way that some of us are, you got to go a little extreme to get back on track, so
cool. Like, even in the context of this conversation, it's like kind of back to, that one decision all of a sudden makes a whole new set of decisions possible, right? And it's so empowering and exciting when we think like, I don't have to just do life the way that I've been doing it just because I'm supposed to, or because that's what I was brought up to do, or that's what everyone at work says I need to do. But like, once that one decision has been made, Now, all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole bunch of other decisions that you get to choose because there's like no supposed to, right? There's just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like almost like an open field of decisions. And I love
Mm-hmm.
thinking about like, doing, these small little challenges, these small little things that you're sharing, and
Mm-hmm.
what that might make possible, like any one person, what they might be able to decide after
Mm-hmm.
just that like little spark of something. What are some of like the
100%.
big transformations you see in the people you work with, Luke, like as they start to take on this work? Like, what are some of the, maybe beliefs or states that you notice
Mm.
in people that start to kind of make big shifts?
Sure. I guess the first person that comes to mind was a client that I work with. Name is Leonie, and she came to me because she's moving towards a cleaner diet, and I'm plant-based, and she wants to go towards a plant-based diet. So she came quite heavy and just quite holding a lot of water weight. She was holding a lot of water retention, and we just worked together. But as we started uncovering and started moving a little bit deeper, I realized that there were a lot of emotional issues that we had to get through. So we worked through that. I did some processes with shifted values because values. Let's say if someone values work, family, hurt, and then fitness or health, and number 4, it's like, why can't I get fit? Why can't I just, well, because it's not important enough for you, because it's number 4. So basically we work with her to shift that to number 1, because your health is your wealth. Your health, physical mountain, is really the basis of everything else. So we shifted that, and immediately, like a couple of days later, she went and bought a slow cooker. So I was just like, she shared with me, she bought an air fryer. So I thought that was pretty cool. But beyond that, I think the significant shift was, we were working with her to get off her meds, because she was on a fair bit of meds for hormonal imbalances. So we moved towards getting one off. But the big shift was, I do this thing called the life balance. I guess it's an integrated approach to growth. And, I look at things like health, spirituality, career, business. I got a score for each: self-development and growth, relationship with others, purpose in life, and fun and recreation, and money and finance. So at the start, she was like 41 out of 80. And then at the end of our program, she got like close to 70. So about 35%, 40% jump in all areas. So most of them were about 9 out of 10. One, spirituality, jumped from 4, or from 5 to 7. So to be able to measure that, like someone, she was a lot more spiritually connected, business more focused, purpose, guided her through the process. She said, I asked her, what do you love doing? She said, I love coaching people. And, do you have any opportunity to do so? And said, yeah, I do. I can put my profile up. So, well, let's just do that. So set micro goals. Okay, by tomorrow, you're going to send me a screenshot of putting your profile. And she did. And then she started coaching pro bono. And so that's why her purpose piece came up a few points as well. So really looking at growth from a 3-dimensional way, because I think, as we all know, we're all whole beings. I look at weight loss as a byproduct of health, mental health, physical health, and emotional health. More so than, an outside-in approach where weight loss to feel better about yourself. It's not going to work that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much, that shifting the one value of prioritizing ourselves, which I'm going to speak for a lot of mamas out there, which is that we become a fairly low ranking priority. And I'm sure dads had a similar experience, but I'm not a dad, so I'm not sure what that feels like. But that experience of like, I'm at the low end of the list. These other priorities are taking so much of my time. And it is a monster mind shift for most women to say, you know what, if I actually took care of myself for a few minutes, I would have so much more to give and feel so much better and feel so much more connected and release all the stress and the emotion that's weighing me down. But that's a monstrous mind shift. And I love that you highlighted that, just shifting that one value of fitness is a priority, my health is a priority, shifted like the rest of her whole life experience. I mean, that's remarkable.
It's great. It's great that you brought that, because my wife actually does the same thing as well. She prioritized. She's an ultra endurance athlete. So before COVID, she was competing all around the world, and she prioritized. And I think at least because we're both into fitness, so I understand her, and she understands why training and fitness is important over anything else. And that's to a certain degree why you put the mask on yourself first before your kids, because you take care of yourself in the airplane. And my wife, to a certain degree, always uses training and running as a mental detox, but also prioritizing her health. And I at least I speak for I feel like I'm a lot more effective. I'm a better father if I'm fitter and more connected with my body. So, and I think I am maybe jumping the gun here, but I think she feels the same way. Maybe we should get her on the podcast and we can chat with her.
Right.
I can get her up here. We can get her up here and we can ask the same question and she'll give you the answer.
That's funny.
Well, and I think it's such especially in the family dynamic, right? Of like, I think some people think it's selfish I'm going to go work out, or I'm going to do this, right? It's like this negative thing, like I should be with my kids or I should be with my spouse. Instead of that, how do I bring the best version of myself into my family to be a great spouse and dad and mom? And, that shift from negative to really what it is that positive,
Indeed. And that's such a great point. And, Cole, we both know Brad Ritter. Brad does Taekwondo with his son. And I know our teammate, Craig as well does. I don't know whether he does jiu-jitsu with his son as well.
Yeah,
he does. His daughter does jiu-jitsu too.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, doing it with your kids, making it fun. I think it doesn't have to be separate. And my girl is 4 years old, so still a bit young, but I would love the opportunity one day for her to do an animal-based workout in the park someday, about, she's showing signs of her athletic ability to be able to do that together with your kids, hike. And no doubt, Cole, you do a lot of stuff with your kids as well, hike and a lot of outdoorsy stuff. And that's fun, isn't it?
I mean, and Jake has a similar experience. Like sports are really part of our kids' passions. And so there's a lot of, kind of like intertwining around that. That's been really fun. But yeah, especially getting outside and being outdoors has been like so restorative in the family unit. And yeah, it's amazing. Luke, I'm so interested to know, because I think this COVID time period has been really challenging for a lot of families. And I think it has maybe highlighted the places where we have some grit versus some places where we probably need a little bit more resilience and structure. I mean, a lot of aspects have kind of risen to the surface. When you think about your grit system, how might that help kind of pull out of this COVID fog that has been, kind of hanging over a lot of people?
I think it's just taking a whole approach. I mean, firstly, it's focusing on what you can versus you can't do. You can commit to drinking a liter or a gallon of water a day. You can commit to putting your phone away, because I think the whole COVID period, to a certain degree, is a period for us to declutter. You can look at it as noise if you focus on the noise, but you can also, to a certain degree, shed whatever. Some people have lost their jobs and even started focusing on what they truly want in the first at the start, because if it's easy to just kind of be in a job and I was there before, comfortably numb, until the global financial crisis hit and I was forced. And I remember when I went to get welfare, I was depressed. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to get a paycheck from the government. But it allowed for me to refocus and recalibrate. So I think looking at it, where the grit is concerned, setting micro goals, looking at focusing on prioritizing your health and well-being, and I talk about mental health, and also physical health and emotional health as well. And emotional health, we're starting with, a lot of times we focus on what we don't want in life, And because you focus on what you don't want in life, you're going to get more of what you don't want, because that is your subconscious doesn't see that. Don't think of the pink elephant. Of course, you're going to think of the pink elephant.
Yes.
So the mind negates the don't. So I think focusing on what you want and be pulled by it, and that's why I love the every morning future me visualization and having something like a statement of intent. I do start the program with a statement of intent. What do you want? Why do you want it? And what is important to you? To be able to write a vivid or even create that movie scene. You are the director of your own movie, and you can, the mind doesn't really know what is real, even what is real. What is this? Is this conversation really real, or are we a concept? So. Yeah. So, but I think might as well create a reality that you want. So I think it's about knowing where you want to be. And sometimes it just takes time. Just take time out to write what you want in life, rather than be, at least for me, I was a victim at one point of my life. But as I started kind of moving forward, as I focus on what I want, and I have a very distinct and clear goal of what I want, what I'm pulled by, and what my mission and my purpose is. And I think once we actually, at least if I take the time to just unpack that, to define it, then it becomes real, because it's in front of me versus a concept in my head. So yeah, really starting with statement of intent, setting micro goals of drinking some water, making daily swaps, box breathing for 5 minutes, and hopefully you'll be a new man and woman after 8 days.
Right?
I love it.
Well, I think you would, right? I mean, that's once you know and the mind experiences, right? Like you can't unknow it anymore,
Mm-hmm.
it might be hard to get back to a decision, but now you have the decision as part of your process, and that's remarkable.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's the thing. It's just about setting small little micro goals. And because you're making this one decision, it's just like on the flip side, I'm just going to have one ice cream. A tub of ice cream, and then I had a tub of ice cream, I'm not going to work out. What's the point? I just had a tub of ice cream, and you go on this. On the flip side, I just drank a gallon of water. Okay, well, a gallon of water. You say, what else can I do today? Oh, maybe I'm just going to hit my 10,000 steps. Ooh, that sounds like a great idea. And then you start stacking on, and it goes both ways.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad you just said that, Luke, because I think even that, just identifying that, like, there's that point where we're making a decision, back to that word, we're making a decision to either like opt into the negative or opt into the positive. And it is a choice. And so that's super empowering to think about too.
It is. And I think of, the client that I shared about, and there were times that she came on one day, she came like, look, I screwed up, I didn't keep, it's like, it's okay, shake it off. You don't have to wallow in it. Like, you made it, and then eventually after that, mates pull down 7, get up 8. Eventually you're just like, all right, well, make a decision, just dust yourself off. Doesn't mean that the world's ending. You get a new start. I mean, the sun rises every single day, so you get a fresh start. So I think, it's about just making that choice, once again, the decision to choose, to just kind of move one micro goal, set one micro goal at a time, one micro step at a time.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Luke, where can people find out about your G.R.I.T Kickstarter and more about you, working with you, all that stuff? Where do people find you?
Sure. On Instagram, my Instagram handle is @LukeTan, LUKETAN.co. And also the G.R.I.T system is @the G.R.I.T system. And in terms of the web address for the G.R.I.T system is bit.ly/kickstart to health, bit.ly/kickstart to health. So, but you can find that all on my Instagram handle anyway. And my website is luketan.co as well. So my full name, .co.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure to link all of those good things to the show notes. And just appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation.
Thank you. I really
and
appreciate
learn from you. Yeah. It's really.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Luke. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. And I wish you both all the best as well. I'm so excited for you both with your book. Haven't managed to get down to it because it's got so much going on. And my wife was so so excited to see the box, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, check out the packaging, check this book out. I mean, this everything just looks great about it." And I you know, you've got a lot to offer families, both of you guys, and I only wish you the best in all that you do. And together, you know, we work together to spread a different message of health, positivity, and of course, as parents, balance.
Yes, right. Yes,
for sure.
One day at a time, no doubt.
Yeah. Indeed,
All right,
indeed.
everybody, thank you so much for your time and joining us today. Thank you to Luke, and we will catch you guys next time.